Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Morning. Ashwin,
Yes, sir.
have a seat, Ashwin.
Thank you, sir.
So, Ashwin, as I can see, you are from Akula, Maharashtra,
Yes, sir.
and your optional is zoology.
Yes, sir.
And you have done BSc in chemistry, botany, and industrial chemistry.
Yes, sir.
And you have already appeared 3 times,
So this is-
2019, 20, and 21. And you appeared for the interview in 2020 and 2021.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now you have your achievements include art of living, NSS seminar competition in chemistry, and Sudarshan Kriya and Bhastrika and fitness training.
Yes, sir.
ICAS you did not join.
So like it was on provisional basis. So the first iteration that came out, I got the Indian Civil Account Services, and then in subsequent iterations, like the fourth one that I got my service upgraded to Indian Revenue Services Customs. So like now from the last 3 weeks, I have been training at Faridabad, Nasil. That is the training institute for customs.
Oh, I see. So
Yes, sir.
now you are in the IRS customs.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the option you have given is only IAS and IPS.
Yes, sir.
So,
Sir, filled the preference others as well because by that time the service list was out. I was still into the audit and account services.
okay.
So I've filled the preference for IRS, but now my only preference are IS and PS.
Okay. All right. Now, kindly tell me, supposing you were given a choice of establishing a higher education institute in a rural area,
Yes, sir.
and you also have a choice of setting up a factory which can give jobs
Yes, sir.
to the youth, which one would you prefer? Establishing a higher education institute or establishing a factory giving jobs, and why?
Yes, sir. So my decision would depend upon the population, the district specifically. Uh, if we have more number of students there uh, who actually can get into the higher education institute and then can further pursue their education or get a job, I would say my tilt would be towards establishing a higher education institute there. But if we have a population that is more of working age, those that are looking for jobs, so my decision would be to ensure there is a factory. But at the same time, I would also say that education is something which is the backbone of the economy. And again, after even establishing the factory, I would still go for the education part.
All right. Okay. Now, tell me, should a referendum be used, as a method to take important decisions, strategic decisions? Would you be in favor of a referendum or not?
So, said referendum, I do not think is a very established way of having any decision making. The reason I feel is because again the views of the people it can be influenced. Otherwise, I think so. We have the political system, the voting system as well, which is by far the good system.
So you feel that referendum in this context of this country would not be this, because
Uh,
referendum otherwise is used
Yes, it is.
elsewhere in the world.
Yes,
So
yes.
can you recall any example of referendum anywhere in the world?
Sorry, sir. Pardon.
Okay, no problem. Uh, now tell me, uh, what is the role and success of the Panchayati Raj institutions after 73rd and 74th Amendment? Do you think it has been able to achieve the purpose for which they were created?
Yes, sir. So the role was to ensure that the third tier of our governance system it progresses, ensuring that we have our people involved into the political system, so that eventually every sector that we focus upon, be it the jobs, be it the health, education sector, it is driven by the people. So this was the primary purpose that we brought the Panchayati Raj institutions in India, and they have succeeded. If we look at the COVID times as well, if it is about providing jobs through Manrega, but I would still say, sir, there are lacunas. Lacunas in the sense like they are dependent onto the grants, both on the center and also they also rely upon the states, be it the funding aspect, be it the election aspect. So there is certain amount of dependence upon the states and the center, which is actually curbing their independence, and eventually it hampers the PRI. And also, so I would state that though the purpose was to ensure that we have a democracy at the grassroots level, it has not actually transcribed, because again we have the male dominated system, the patriarchy, which takes over the control, and eventually we feel that women, they're not participating to that extent in the PRIs.
My last question to you would be that what are the different issues or bones of contention? We have a federal system. So, between the central government and the state government, particularly the opposition ruled states. So, what are the issues, 1, 2, 3,
Yes, sir.
of contention?
Yes, sir. So the primary issue in the current context is about the fuel prices. The states have been like criticizing the center that it has not reduced its excise, and it has been asking us to reduce the value-added taxes.
Yeah.
And secondly, I would also state the GST compensation cess, which was again an issue during the COVID times as well.
Okay.
And
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. These are, of course, issues, um, uh, temporary issues in the sense that, but there are some long-standing issues also besides this. They are right.
Yes,
What
sir.
you have said is correct. Any other issues, bone of contention?
Sorry.
What about role of governor?
Yes, sir. It is.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What about all India, coverage of CBI
Yes, sir,
and
even, yes, sir.
central institutions?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, Nakpalji.
Congratulations, doubly civil servant.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
and now planning for a
Uh,
hat trick.
Yes, sir.
Lovely, that's great. Between postal service and customs, how long have you been with the postal service?
So I was not with the postal service. I was first with the civil account services. It was again on a provisional basis, so I did not attend it because I had my means. And thereafter, I got into the Indian Audit and Account Services, which
Okay.
was again for like 2 weeks, and then again it got upgraded to IRS Customs.
Okay, okay. Your interests and hobbies have a interesting listing of Sudarshan Kriya and
Vastrika.
Vastrika
Yes, sir.
and fitness training.
Yes, sir.
Are they three not have the common kind of objective?
Yes, sir. They do have a common objective, which basically is the health aspect.
And fitness training is what? It is, you are referring to weight training?
No, sir. Like initially, during my graduation years, I used to focus upon weight training. But then subsequently, I moved towards during the COVID times, the pranayam thing, that is the Sudarshan Kriya and Vastrika. And now, sir, like even during our training times, we have some PT. So fitness training, I refer to a very generalized term, so that it could be running, it could be like squats or any other thing.
Or
Yes, sir.
athletics?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me, what is the difference between Sudarshan Kriya and Bhastrika?
Yes, sir. So Sudarshan Kriya and Bhastrika both are pranayams. But in Bhastrika, we focus upon a forceful inhalation and exhalation. Whereas in Sudarshan Kriya, we are practicing it in three types, actually, three positions. And then we focus upon a normal rate of breathing, a deep inhalation and a very deep exhalation. We do not rush.
I thought both are the same, no?
No, sir, there is a difference.
There is a
The
difference?
speed, yes, the speed is a difference. And also
The speed?
yes, sir. And also the posture is different.
Okay, okay. We are reading in the newspapers that Chief Minister of Maharashtra is planning a rally somewhere in Aurangabad in next couple of days. What is it about?
Sorry, sir, I haven't heard about it.
Okay. There are a lot of television images, people dancing, playing drums, and this dance of democracy. Is it called dance of democracy, or this expression dance of democracy means what? It has been used in what context?
Sorry, sir.
Okay. But this, let's call this dance of democracy, this
Yes, sir.
proposed rally,
Yes, sir.
or call it even circus. A lot of political parties, every day there is some dance, some rally on the streets,
Yes.
all across the country. How do you react to it?
So, in my personal opinion, I would say overall it is not good for the democracy that India wants to be. This has an impact on the social structure as well. So if I can recall it, the Maharashtra CM incidents that you're talking about, I think it is about the Azan and again bringing about a rally so that we uh, are establishing that we are not against any community. But again, yes, the other political parties. So I would say this is not good, and certainly there has to be law and order, which eventually the politicians also have to ensure that they at all times work with the executives to ensure that there is
Okay,
the
I'm
social
happy
fabric
you
is sorted.
referred to the law and order part of it. My last
Yes,
part
sir.
of, last question on this
Yes.
only. Aren't the district administration, wherever, aren't they within their powers to prevent in time and stop if these are happening?
Yes, sir. Sir, yes, the district has administration. It does have the power to stop it. But again, sir, these are ulterior motives that no one can gauge them beforehand. Most of the
No,
permissions.
no, don't say that. Don't say that. Supreme Court just 3, 4, 5 days ago, in a very important order, it said that rallies don't happen overnight. They are advertised
Yes,
in
sir.
advance,
Yes, sir. So what
all
I'm
planning
yes,
and
sir.
everything.
Yes, sir. So what I'm saying is, the intentions of the people cannot be gauged. Like we are giving permission for a peaceful, it could be rally, but then again, if some miscreants, some politically motivated people, they try to completely curb the intention of the rally. So then it becomes difficult.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sanjay ji?
Ashwin,
Yes, sir.
so when did you join the training?
So it's been like 3 weeks.
Oh, it's too early. So you must have only done, so customs phase you're doing? What are you doing?
Yes, sir. Customs.
Okay. So seizure is under which section
Yes, sir.
of the
Sir,
Customs Act?
So it comes under section 110 of
Ah.
the Customs Act of 1962.
Okay. And what is smuggling?
Yes, sir. So smuggling, it can be defined as those goods that have not been explicitly mentioned. It could be by the passenger if he arrives and he feels that, or
No,
if
no,
he
as
even
per
has,
the Customs Act.
as per the Customs Act. So I'm not aware
You
about
haven't
that
gone
exact
through that?
definition.
Not yet.
So I know it, but again, in the context of the Customs Act, please pardon me.
Okay. All right. No problem. Your comment on opting for the GST. What were the compulsions for opting for GST compared to the central excise or
Yes, sir.
the state VAT?
Yes, sir. So the primary intention was to bring about one nation and one tax, because earlier we had multiple taxes, and eventually GST it is proposed as a alternative that will basically clear up all
So
the other
what was the
taxes.
problem with the earlier format? May I give you a hint?
Yes, sir. So it was
Goods and services. So what is goods? You are upgrading the windows. Is that service or is it goods?
So it is service.
No. Okay. So, but there are situations where they are so intricately intermingled that it is hard to clearly define whether it is goods or service. That was one of the challenge.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. There are no permanent friends or permanent enemies, only permanent interest
Yes, sir.
in the international politics.
Yes, sir.
Your comment on this statement with respect to Indian foreign policy.
Yes, sir. So I would partly agree with the statement, because interest when it comes to the international forum, it does matter. But again, sir, I would say friendship again has a very important role when it comes to India as well. We have a long-term ally, Russia, and so even during this trying times, we have ensured that our friendship, the relation that we have with Russia, it doesn't, it is not altered even in these circumstances.
Can you give me one example where an enemy or a perceived enemy has become friend now, as far as Indian foreign policy is concerned?
Yes.
Most obvious example. Cast your mind back to 1971 and the events, and then 2009.
So, is it Pakistan that you're referring to?
Okay.
Or China?
No.
Okay, sir.
USA,
US.
7th Fleet.
Achha,
And they were
yes,
totally
sir.
hostile during 65 and 71 to India.
Yes, yes.
And now we got a nuclear deal with them.
Yes.
And we are part of Quad.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Saxena ji.
Ashwin,
Yes.
Chief Justice of India, as per today's media
sir.
report, has made a rather disturbing comment on the civil services, the bureaucrats. Say that non-performing civil servants are a burden on judiciary, are a burden on courts. How do you react to it?
So in my personal opinion, I would say that yes, if bureaucrats they are not performing, they need to be accountable. But again, we need to see it in the context like what is making them not perform their duties. Is it the legislature part? It is whether their own reluctance to perform their duties. So if it is the legislature, I think we need to remove the hurdles so that our executives they perform well. And if it is their own reluctance, I think so. This in this context, I think CGI statements is right that we need they are actually a burden.
It is generally, the general perception is that the bureaucracy is getting, bulkier and bulkier every day.
Yes.
Is there no need to downsize it or right size it to make it more, to make it smarter?
So as per the government data, it shows that there are lots of vacancies usually. So I would not completely agree to the fact that we have a civil services which is getting bulkier and bulkier. But yes, I do agree with the fact that we need a civil services that is oriented towards the people. That again, it is role based, and so this can be done if we have the right amount of people, and again, they have to be motivated. So.
Okay. There are also complaints of large pendency of court cases, both in the subordinate judiciary
Yes,
as well as in top judiciary,
Yes, sir.
Supreme Court.
Yes, sir.
So, what is the way forward? Now, Supreme Court CGI says that we must fill up. He has urged the government to
Sir.
fill up all the vacancies,
Yes, sir.
and he is not agreeing to the changing the existing system of filling up, collegium system. He wants that it should continue.
Yes, sir.
So, what is the way out of this?
So I do agree that there have been pending cases. If we even look at the total amount, it is close to 4 crore cases. So sir, the solution is the same as has been pointed out that we need faster appointments, and also not just fast, but we also need some very eligible judges who can handle the cases on a day-to-day basis in a very competent and professional manner. So that would be one thing. Secondly, I would also say that yes, because of the disruption, we have seen that hybrid settings have been brought about. When we have both the online and the offline mode, this can also benefit to declog our courts. Third, sir, the Supreme Court itself has launched various initiatives like faster schemes, and more such schemes have been brought about to ensure that justice delivery takes place at the lowest level. And finally, sir, I would also say that we have launched our various tribunals, but again, the issue is tribunalization. So the cases they are being again pending in the tribunal systems, and they again go to the high courts and the Supreme Courts, which again clogs the system. So if we have this tribunals which are again very professional and they adjudicate or out of court negotiation does take place, I think so this can help.
There are instructions from the government about making out of court settlement.
Yes,
Okay. One last question.
Yes.
Why not have a more branches of Supreme Court, especially in the South India?
Yes, sir. To the best of my knowledge, I think it is the Chief Justice of India which has this power. But I'll have to think about it why we need to have more.
Is it within his power or does it require the approval of the legislature?
So to the best of my knowledge, I think it's the President who consults the Chief Justice of India and then it can be done.
One last question, sorry.
Yes,
What do you think about Prime Minister's hug diplomacy? As in when a dignitary comes from other country, he always hugs him. Does it help?
So I would say it doesn't harm, so it obviously helps. So it also ensures that the the respect that we give towards our partners, instead of shaking hands, it goes for the hugs. And so I think it's just a gesture to make the other country feel respected.
Okay, Ashwin, what is the difference between meditation, yoga, and pranayama?
Yes, sir. So yoga is a very broad category. Uh, it includes the meditation and the pranayama aspect as well. So meditation, again, as I said, is a component of yoga, and pranayam is when we focus upon the prana, that is the breath component.
So pranayama is not the component of yoga?
So it is a component of yoga.
It is yoga.
Yes.
Okay. Now you are coming from the Maharashtra.
Yes, sir.
Recently, we have seen in the Delhi the farmers they are agitating. So why the farmers of the Maharashtra they have not participated with the Delhi farmers?
Yes, sir. So again, the primary reason that I've come across it is that the APMC uh, is not that institutionalized in Maharashtra as compared to Punjab and Haryana. So there, when the laws were brought, uh, they pursued that it would be a direct attack onto the institution of APMC, which is not the case with the Maharashtra. Sir.
So do you think that in the Maharashtra horticulture can become the solution for the farm distress?
Yes, I do agree. Horticulture, not just in Maharashtra, but in throughout India, it can be a good source of livelihood for our farmers, and it can be cultivated.
But then on the other hand, we might going to have the deficiency with respect to the cereals.
Yes, sir. When I speak about in the context of bringing horticulture, here I do not mean we completely replace the other crops, cereals and other things. When I speak about bringing horticulture, it basically means that those crops which are not suitable to the agroclimatic zones, it could be sugarcane, which is not supposed to grow in Maharashtra, but it is growing in the Marathwada region, or the cotton, which is grown in excess, and again then it depletes the water table. So here in this context, we can have the horticulture which acts as again saves the environment and also acts as a livelihood source to the farmers as well.
Okay. Uh, who is your role model and what qualities you are basically taking from him or her?
Yes, sir. So my role model is my father. He has been into the Maharashtra Police Services. He retired last year, and the qualities I would say is punctuality, discipline, and immense hard work.
Okay. And what are the challenges that our basically the administration is facing nowadays?
So like administration in complete sense.
Yes.
Okay. So so first I would say is building a trust with the people.
Mhm.
So like we see cases of corruptions, nexus between the politicians and the executives. It damages the reputation. It damages the image of the entire administration. So this is when the trust system it actually breaks up. And once that happens, we see that people and the administration there is a gap that is developing between the two, which eventually becomes difficult to bridge. And so even if the administration it takes any decision for the interest of the people, they will perceive it in a very negative sense that it might not actually help them. And so others, I would say it's also the technological drawbacks that we have not been able to reach to the lowest level, and other problems like poverty, hunger, and not being able to completely eradicate them. I would say so. These are some of them.
So do you think that the role of bureaucracy is declining in India?
So I would say there are lacunas, but I do not agree that the role of bureaucracy is declining, especially after having attended the Civil Services Day this year, last month. I would say, sir, there are various IAS officers and IPS officers who do a very commendable job, being it about eradication of the malnutrition in their districts, providing jobs. But most of the time, what happens, sir, is that we are focused upon the negatives. So even if the administration does some good work at any different place, it would be the next highlight will not even show them. So like they remain in a isolated place and their work does not get that recognition. I would say, sir, this is one thing, but yes, lacunas do exist, sir. As I spoke about corruption and nexus, these do hamper.
Okay. My last question is nowadays you have seen very actively our bureaucrats are on the social media,
Sir.
especially the Twitters, right?
Yes, sir.
And they're very actively pinpointing everything is coming. So, do you think that will it really helps out by being very active on the social media? Some are there and some are not there.
Yes. So I do not think that being on social media or not being on social media has anything to do with the work of a executive or a bureaucrat. What eventually matters is the intent that a person is working with. Some might not like the limelight and they completely avoid it, completely avoid the social media, but others, they feel that this is a source of motivation for them. So like even if they're doing some work, they'll be posting it. And then finally what happens is they draw motivation from here and they work back harder. So I do not think that it is a wrong thing, unless and until the intention is to just be in the limelight and not do any work.
Right. Thank you, Ashwin.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll take you back to the waiting room for a few minutes.
Sure, sir.
And we'll call you back again for giving our feedback.
Yes,
to
sir.
you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, have a seat, Ashwin. Ashwin, first of all, let me ask you, when is your interview due?
So 10th of May.
10th of May. So you still have about almost 10 days,
Yes.
9 days. Okay. Now, how many marks did you get in the last two interviews?
Sir, it was the last interview that I did. It was 160. I was slightly nervous at that time, so
The last one,
yes, sir.
160.
Yes,
And
sir.
before that?
So no, that was the first interview that I did, and this was the second. This would be the second.
Acha. So once only.
Yes, sir.
All right. How do you think you will assess yourself in terms of your performance at this mock interview, which went for almost 25 minutes?
So I would say it went well, but at times I think I was giving my answer a bit lengthy answers.
Okay.
Like,
All right. Okay. So Ashwin, first of all, let me say that you are very good.
Yes,
There is no doubt about it. Some of the qualities which you possess, which we found, that you were able to listen to the questions, you were mentally alert, you were able to analyze the questions, churning inside your head, and then came out with the answer. So mental alertness was there. We also found that the power of assimilation was very much there. You were able to see both the pros and cons. So analytical power you also possessed. Then of course you could think while standing on your legs, because sometimes what happens, suddenly questions come and one has to think while sitting there. So you were able to think about the questions. Then at no point of time did we find that you were bluffing. So they were very honest in your answers, and wherever you found that you were not in a position to answer, you very honestly said no. Confidence was definitely there. Your communication skills were very good, and you have a clarity of thought. So all these things go in your favor. Now coming to some of the general issues, I will not go into each of every question, because by and large you were able to come out with very good answers. Your answer regarding why Maharashtra farmers did not join the issue of the farmers of the Punjab and Haryana was absolutely correct. Then referendum also, yes. In fact, India never wanted a referendum. There were attempts regarding Kashmir. So a referendum, probably as it is, we are not in a position to, in the voting, not everyone votes, and there are not so many educated people, so it is a kind of a negative vote, so one doesn't know whether referendum will ultimately lead to. So your answer was correct. Regarding the bone of contention, you did mention some of this. In GST you mentioned, and you also mentioned about
the tax prices.
Yeah, the fuel tax. Yeah. So there were many other issues, like governor is one, and then another thing is the recent West Bengal thing. What is that?
Again, the governor issue.
No.
Acha, with the
What is that amendment in the service rules?
the IAS and IPS.
Like cadre rules. So that again is a bone of contention now, because now if the center wants a particular officer, he can overrule the state's decision, and he can call again a bone of contention. Then regarding CBI, etc., and All India role of Panchayati Raj institutions, you were right, but you could have also mentioned what are the different functions of Panchayati Raj institution. For example, in fact, it's a mini government. So construction of streets and ponds and community house.
So I mentioned the Manrega thing.
Manrega is one of them, definitely. Okay. So Manrega is in fact it's a program for providing employment. But what are the things which are the functions? Construction of a filling up the pond, construction of streets and culverts and drains and all those things, so that you have a knowledge about that. And then of course the Regarding Sudarshan, Kriya and Bhastrika, some questions were asked,
Yes.
you were able to come out with fairly well. Most of the questions you were able to come out with answers which were to the point, exact, and not very long, barring one or two questions where you were slightly longer. So try to concise them,
Sure.
and that will come only when you are in a position to first of all gauge the question, let it remain inside you,
Yes.
and then come out.
Yes, sir.
And three things I would particularly suggest to you.
Yes, sir.
Not at all, I'm not saying that you are not doing it, but just by way of adequate caution. Number one, if there are different parts to the answer, say 1, 2, 3,
Yes, sir.
4, come out with the most important part of that answer first,
Okay.
because that is going to convince the panelist, yes, he knows. If you come out with the least important, he will probably say, all right, he will move on to the next question. So first of all, assess which is most important.
Okay, sir. Sure.
The second is, if there is a contentious question,
Yes, sir.
then try to give pros and cons. So a question like, for example, Central Vista, or a question like corruption, or a question like Article 370, demonetization. These are all contentious questions. So there you must give both the sides, and then if they insist on having your opinion, then you can come out with the opinion, but that opinion should be in line with the official thinking.
Yes, sir.
Don't go against
Yes,
that.
sir.
It is not a place to take risks. Now, coming to some other areas where I would think that it will be a good idea, you have to read through that also, because number one is that you belong to Maharashtra, so
Yes, sir.
Akola, Maharashtra, everything about them.
Yes, sir.
So the agriculture, the crops, the irrigation, the industries, the prominent people, the Bollywood,
Yes, sir.
and then things like tourism potential, strategic location, all these things you must know.
Yes, sir.
And then of course corruption, recent corruption incidents in Maharashtra
Yes, sir.
which have
Yes, sir.
taken place.
Yes.
So the DG and then the ministers and so on. Then questions will definitely be asked on your chemistry, botany, zoology and
Yes, sir.
industrial chemistry. We did not ask you any question, but there can be a question
sure.
like,
Yes, sir.
what is the difference between chemistry and alchemy? And one typical question becomes is, what are three things gifted by chemistry to the human mankind?
Okay, sir.
You have to think which are the most important. It can be pharmaceutical, it can be, many things, POL and so on.
Yes.
So what are those things? And then of course questions on NSS and art of living.
Yes,
These
sir.
questions
Yes.
will definitely, you have to prepare for that. And then coming to some other areas, prepare very well on
Yes.
the district administration.
Yes, sir.
How a district administration works,
Yes.
which are the major departments,
Yes, sir.
and what are the functions of the collector.
Yes, sir.
You must know that.
Sure.
So collector's basic core function is that of revenue administration.
Yes.
The second is magisterial function. Third is the coordination between different departments. So between agriculture, between irrigation and so on. The fourth is election.
Yes.
Fifth is your disaster management. So these are the main functions. And one more thing which I would suggest is that go through all the relevant acts which govern or empower or protect different sectors of society. Women.
Yes.
So there is the Domestic
Yes,
Violence
sir.
Act, the Dowry Prohibition Act, POSH. So the acts for women, children, senior citizens, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, handicapped, all the acts. And what are the remedies available? If you were the district magistrate and he comes to you with
Yes.
what remedy will you give? And then of course the public policies which have been framed for women, for children,
Yes.
for say pollution control, for cleanliness
Yes.
and so on. That. Then of course relation between India and its neighbors.
Yes.
So question was asked,
Yes,
about the relation between, which were pretty bad at point of time. Now suddenly
Yes.
there is a 180 degrees almost.
Mm.
So the relation between India and its neighbors,
Yes.
India, China, India, Russia, India, USA.
Yes.
Then the problems occurring in Sri Lanka and in Pakistan.
Yes.
And then of course you must know things about the Russia-Ukraine war,
Yes.
and what are the immediate results
Mhm.
vis-a-vis the supply chain management of
Yes.
India.
Yes.
What lessons are we drawing from that?
Mhm.
More of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Also understand what government is doing for building up employment potential in this country.
Yes.
So stand up India and start up
Yes.
India and so many other things. Make in India.
Yes.
And one more thing is last thing is that current affairs. So you will be made to sit, as you have already appeared, in a room,
Yes, sir.
and there are all newspapers lying there. So before entering your interview room, you must go through the newspapers so that you are fully equipped with that. So that's about it. Anything else you would like to ask us?
So one question that you asked, whether to choose employment like building a factory or the higher
Yes,
education.
yes, your answer was correct.
It was correct.
Yes, you said that it will depend on the context.
Yes.
If there are many people, who are desirous of higher education and they have already gone up to a certain level, yes.
Okay.
But also say that the present unemployment position in the country does warrant that we should pay more attention to the manufacturing sector,
Yes.
which was hitherto neglected. So you can give both the sides, that it will depend upon from situation to situation, because both are important. Okay. Any other question you would like to ask us?
No, sir.
You are very good.
Yes, sir.
And go with this firm conviction that you possess the knowledge,
Yes, sir.
you possess the skills, and you also have a good attitude.
Yes.
You are bound to get very good marks. Last time it was
160.
160,
Yes.
and this time we would hope that you get something around 190 or 200,
Sure.
and you ultimately make it to the service which you are desiring for.
Yes, sir.
You are already in one service,
Yes.
and which is itself is a very good service.
Yes, sir.
So one thing, another thing which I will like to you to is that prepare something about the service to which you are serving. Some questions were asked. Nobody can expect you to come out with answers at such a short notice because you have just joined it. But since you have time, you can definitely. You still have about 9 days with
Yes,
you.
sir.
You can prepare on that also.
Yes.
So don't worry. You are very good. You will
Thank you,
definitely make it,
Sure.
and we hope that. All the best to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Unacademy. Let's crack it.